Welcome back to the Raw Prospect Podcast. My name is Emmy Nixon. That is Michael Ween to my left. And today we are doing a bonus episode, doing an NBA preview for the 2025-26 season, particularly on our two teams, my Dallas Mavericks and Michael's San Antonio Spurs. Two teams that are pretty interesting heading into the season. If I do say so myself, but we're going to be covering them. We each have come up with three main questions pertaining to our teams, and then back after the show, we're just going to talk general NBA stuff, just storylines, superlatives, awards, all of it. So we've got a lot to get to in just about an hour's time, and let's get right into this thing. Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm good. My favorite football team is playing, and they're currently losing somehow. But I was warned before this game about Mike Tomlin on Thursday night, so nothing surprises me at this point. But we're here, and I'm excited to talk NBA. We're recording this the Thursday before the season tips off, and it tips off this coming Tuesday, October the 21st. Is like the first two regular season games, and then we get into the NBA regular season. And the funny thing is, our two teams play each other to kick off the season on Wednesday. So I think that's a nationally televised game, so that should be a fun one. And we got a lot of new faces and new places this NBA season, particularly with Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Ernie Johnson now working for ESPN. Inside the NBA's now on ESPN and ABC. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch this NBA season. Luckily, we still have that group together. I'm super excited for what the Spurs' immediate and long-term future holds with some of the moves that they made this offseason and some of the luck that they had in the draft lottery. And I'm sure you are as well with the Mavericks with some of the luck they had in the draft lottery. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with your Spurs, because they have arguably the most intriguing storyline of this offseason on their team, and that is Victor Wembanyama, who was all over the place in the offseason, to put it simply. Was in China training with monks, trained with Hakeem Olajuwon, trained with Kevin Garnett, has come back stronger as well. So your first question you came up with is, how realistic are Wemby's chances at MVP? So what is your take on that?
I think he's got a good shot at it, man. I've gone through some lists of how The Athletic, how ESPN, a lot of these major media outlets come out with their player rankings before the season. And Wemby's in the top 5. I've seen him at 5 and number 6. I have him in my top 5. I know he missed half the year last year with the blood clot. Until then, though, he was a shoo-in for Defensive Player of the Year before he was sidelined with the blood clot. He finished the year leading the league in blocks. He finished the season leading the league in blocks, and he played 46 games. 176 blocks in 46 games. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And he cleaned nearly 30% of defensive rebounds. So we know he's going to be, as long as he's healthy, we know he's going to be he's going to put up monstrous numbers on defense. And the Spurs are going to be a good defense because of it. And they have now some length on the perimeter. You like the way this team lines up defensively, especially with some of the moves that they made. Offensively, though, is where I still think he's got another step that he's going to take. I think he's going to become more of a force this year on the interior, and we've already kind of seen it in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but in the sample size that we have from him in preseason, he leads all players in post-ups so far. And he's really just dominating more on the interior. Last year, because of his skills, he spent a lot of the year bombing away threes, 12.8 attempts per 100 possessions. And while those are makeable shots for him, which is one of the scary parts of his game, is that he can make those shots. Um, he he has not really like we haven't seen him like dominate on the interior yet. What is going on in this game? The refs have just lost absolute control of it. 35% from three, like that's part of his skill set. And for some weird reason, we still don't know how tall this guy actually is. There's debate if he's like 7'5". Some Boban earlier this week says he's 7'7". The Spurs listed him at 7'3" last year. So I don't know, man. I just think he's going to take that next step in terms of like dominating, playing to his size on the interior. He's been training with Hakeem Olajuwon in the high post. He's already displayed that little dream shake. He can make those shots because he's got the touch. He's just going to be all over the place. As long as he's healthy, I think the thing with MVP is like you have to win. Your team has to win enough games for you to like get that award. Like the Spurs can't be like a 35-win team and him win the award. That would just be a complete statistical anomaly. But say they surpass their win total and they get close to 50 wins, absolutely, he could win that award. I do think they'd probably have to be top 5 in the West, most likely. But he'll certainly have the numbers, I think, to justify being the MVP of the league.
Yeah, with how tough this Western Conference is going to be, if they're top 5 in the West, I think you can pencil it in pretty much. I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, if Shea and the Thunder, I mean, if they win 70 games, I mean, you can argue with how dominant that team is. You're probably going to have some, I guess, not voter fatigue, but I guess just canceling out of Shea with how good Jalen Williams is probably going to be this year. That's what I think at least. And then Luka is an interesting scenario because we haven't really seen him play a healthy season either, where he's been good from start to finish. So that could be interesting as well. But I mean, Wemby's got as good a case as any if they can win enough games. But that's really what it comes down to me because he's going to put up the numbers. I could see it being like 32, 13, 4 blocks, 5 assists. I mean, that's within the cards. That's pretty realistic.
Yep, I would agree. He's just the Spurs have to find a way and figure out how to get him at the rim because at the rim last year he shot 80%. Pretty insane numbers everywhere you look with this guy. Even with all that, though, I just think he has another level that he's going to reach this year. It seems like he's in good shape health-wise coming off the blood clot, which was scary, especially for a guy built like he is and just like the history of guys his size and that tall and just like the injury history and medical problems that can arise there. I don't think he's quite on the level of like the top players in the league. Your Shea Gilgeous-Alexanders, who's still going to be incredible. Jokic is probably still on another level for in terms of just like running your offense through him and all that stuff. And then there's Giannis. Like we'll get into the MVP candidates later. Luka, who's now in shape and slimmed down, is probably going to have a monster year statistically. I just don't know how good the Lakers will be. So I don't know. Like he is going to have to. The reason I think he's going to have to, like the Spurs are going to have to surpass expectations by quite a bit, is because there just haven't been that many MVPs in my memory that have won the MVP when their team hasn't necessarily stacked up outside of the Russell Westbrook triple-double year.
And even then, they won 47 games. So
Yeah. So they're going to have to be, I think, close to 50 wins for that to be a consideration. But even then, I do think he could be like top 5 in voting. I think that's pretty possible.
Yeah.
So, because I think his numbers are just going to be insane, especially defensively. Um, so yeah, there's that. What's our next question that we have here?
Yeah. Next question is about his potential star running mate, Dylan Harper, the number 2 overall pick from this year's draft. That's a storyline as well. Is I think this year's draft class is going to be fantastic this year, given what we've seen in the preseason. But for Dylan Harper, what do you think his expectations should be for his rookie season?
Well, I wonder what the dynamic is going to be with this rotation of guards that the Spurs have. They kind of have a surplus of guards, a lot of which have this similar skill sets, and that's kind of been the one of the worries with the Spurs and how they've constructed this roster. Castle, Fox, and Harper now. So I wonder, like, what first? I think we have to answer the question: what role do we think Harper is going to play? If he's a starter, that will be interesting because it be a situation where it's him and Fox together and Castle coming off the bench, or are you going to play? Are you going to have Harper coming off the bench, kind of manning the bench unit? That's the first question that I'd like your opinion on, and then we can better define expectations for him because I think he's got all the tools that you need. We'll see how his perimeter shot continues to develop, but the Spurs have a pretty good history of turning guys that aren't known as shooters into pretty good shooters. They've done that in the past. But in terms of like getting to the rim, playmaking, I have pretty high expectations for this guy. He is he's a ready-made player. That's why he was the number 2 pick in the draft. And my thing with team building is like get the talent and then figure it out later. Get the talent on your team, get the best talent on your team, and figure it out later. There might have been another player in the draft, like an Ace Bailey, who may have fit the Spurs needs a little bit better. But Dylan Harper, from everything I've seen in preseason, is he's getting to the rim, he's getting easy shots, and the size that I think he's going to provide defensively can't be understated. He's what 6'6", a 6'6" guard. You pair that with Castle, and you've got some length on the perimeter. But the question I really want to ask you is like, what do you think his role is going to be?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the biggest storylines of the season for the Spurs. I think you probably start him off the bench, but ultimately, I think he's too good to keep on the bench. And ultimately, I think you sit Devin Vassell and have him be your microwave scorer off the bench. I think those 3 guys can play together. I think they're good enough defensively to where they can hold up. And Dylan Harper's 6'6". I think he can guard most threes. To a certain extent, he's probably going to get overpowered by a few threes here and there, but I mean, for the most part, I think with how good of a defender Castle is, and Fox can certainly hold his own as well, I think that 3-man guard unit could be very, very interesting. And then at the 4, that's probably Jeremy Sohan still, and then Wembanyama. So I think that's ultimately going to be your best lineup. I think that's what you close games with. Whether you start the game with that, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I have high expectations for him. I don't think he's winning Rookie of the Year. The Spurs have back-to-back Rookie of the Years in their pocket with Wembanyama and Castle. I think that's Cooper Flagg's award to lose, but and there are going to be some other good rookies too. Um, but like, I think if he's a bench guy and he's coming off the bench and averaging, I don't know what he would average, but like if he can average, yeah, something like that. And just like the playmaking is what I'm really looking for. playmaking ability, because that's really where he separated himself in college. Um, getting to the basket, playmaking for his teammates. We've already seen it in the preseason with him and Wimbenyama on the fast break or just in the half court. So I don't know how they got the number 2 pick on the heels of already getting the number 4 pick and the number 1 pick the year before that. But um, I'm really excited for this young core. And I guess one of the long-term questions is, and it's kind of hard to answer given they already gave Fox the extension in the offseason. It's a 4-year extension. What is like the core of this team? Because I think it should be Harper. I think they got to build off Harper and Wimbenyama
Yeah.
because those timelines fit so well together. But how does like the Aaron Fox work into that? That's the interesting part of this.
Yeah, I think despite him getting the extension, I think you still think about trading him. That's probably, I mean, with how good I think Castle will be, I think that's what probably will end up happening. But that depends on how good y'all are this year. If you're good, then keep Fox and just let those young guys develop. But if you're struggling, then just why keep Fox around? Just trade him and then get your assets, and then just let the young guys play as many minutes as possible.
Yep. In terms of expectations for this team, what I think their over under win total the last time I checked 44 and a half, I believe.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Where do you think the Spurs land in the West? What would be your projection there?
Yeah, I think they land somewhere in the play-in because I think the West is going to be an absolute bloodbath. Like I expect Portland to be somewhat competitive. I expect even the Pelicans have some good players. Like there's like Memphis still has like John Jaren Jackson Jr. at the end of the day. Like there's so many teams with legitimate star talent. Where like obviously like the Spurs are gonna have a chance to win every single night because they're like there's gonna be a lot of nights where Wembanyama is the best player on the floor. So I'm not ruling out them hitting the over emphatically, but I see them somewhere in the 43 win to 45 win range, which to me probably puts them in the 7 to 9 seed range.
Yeah, I think 7 or 8 is where I see this team landing. Maybe 9. It'll be
Yeah,
pretty tight group of teams in that range as it always is. Um, yeah, 43. I mean, that's 43 wins going over 500. Um, over 500. That's a 9. That'd be a 9-win jump from last year.
that's a big jump. Yeah,
That's a big ass jump. So I think somewhere in like the 42, 43 win range. I probably wouldn't take the over. I think they'll get close to 40. Maybe they do get 44. And they'll be like 7 or 8. And I think they'll find a way to win the play-in so that they're in the playoffs. I want to see this team in a 7-game series. That's
yeah,
the goal this year is
yeah,
get to a 7-game first round series. You might have to face the Thunder and you might get swept, but I don't care. I need this team back in the playoffs.
yeah. Get that 20-year streak going again.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the Spurs conversation. Let's transition to the Mavericks.
Yeah, yeah.
Get it started there.
Yeah, for the Mavs, I had a couple of conversations about like D'Angelo Russell and the point guard situation, and then about the defense. But I'm going to pivot and let's have a conversation about Cooper Flag because I liked how the Dylan Harper conversation went. So let's talk about Cooper Flag a little bit, what his expectations should be. For me, I think Cooper Flag, like you said, he's going to be right there in the mix in terms of Rookie of the Year. But my thing is like, where will the counting stats end up at? I don't know, I don't know if he's gonna fill up the points like crazy to start the year. Like I think he's gonna make a big impact defensively, and I think he's gonna get quite a few assists with just they're gonna kind of they're shifting to a completely like ball movement and man movement style of offense, like with this non Luca era, which is still strange for me. I'm still recovering. Um, but yeah, I think I don't see Cooper Flag like dominating the ball or anything like that. I don't think he's gonna be like shooting like the three ball like crazy well. Like I see him in kind of the 31-32% range maybe in his first year. So I mean I could definitely see him winning rookie of the year, but I also think um I don't think he's a runaway favorite. Like I still think Dylan Harper has a really good chance. I think Ace Bailey is going to put up a lot of shots in Utah this year. I think even I mean, probably not VJ Edgecombe in Philly because that's a pretty full guard rotation. But there's quite a few guys that could make a run for that rookie of the year this year.
Yeah, what role do you think Flag's going to play in this Mavericks offense, or just in the team in general?
To me, I think he's kind of like a connective piece. Like I think he's probably going to be the second leading scorer, but there's going to be some nights where he puts up 8 points. Like it's not going to be like a dominant scoring season from him. I don't think. I think it's going to be more so like the impact that he makes on the game, just as a player, because goes beyond the stats. And I think there's going to be some talk on Twitter like, oh, why isn't he scoring like this and that? Like it's because that's how basketball talk works on Twitter. But I think Flag's going to have a really good year, but I don't see him like just like averaging 22 or something like I've seen some people say.
Yeah, I think the guy is must see TV, and he will be every
He's
time the
going to be a deep.
Mavericks are on national television. Just from the time that he was in high school to, the Team USA stuff, to the Olympics, to his run to the Final Four with Duke um, last year, to his summer league stuff and the preseason. Um, he's kind of showcased a little bit of everything. Where he's gonna make his impact right away is just it's gonna be in the part of the game that you don't necessarily see on the box score.
Yeah.
Um, as that kind of connective piece, he can handle the ball and he can initiate offense. He's capable of doing that. I think the Mavericks will have spurts in games where he will be the guy, kind of like he was at Duke, at the top of the key, initiating and playmaking, because he has that skill set. It's one of the things that makes him who he is and how good of a prospect he is. But defensively, I mean, it's going to be really fun to watch. He's going to be an excellent on-ball defender, um, and he'll make plays off ball too. That's the thing with him is um, he's a really smart, instinctive player.
Yeah.
It'll just come down to like how much do they need him to score.
Yeah. Which I
Um,
I think we will end up needing him to score. I don't see this offense being world beaters, and we'll get to that. I we're gonna see a lot of him at the three, and this is probably the first time in his life that he's played the three. So that's gonna be an interesting, I guess, nugget there. It's gonna be a really big lineup that he's playing alongside of, like with Davis and one of either Lively or um, Gafford for a lot of the time. So he's going to have to, space the floor and shoot the three ball well. That's going to be pretty important for this team. But yeah, I
so
think So moving along to the D'Angelo Russell conversation, like how this point guard room is going to handle itself. Handle, no pun intended there. Um, while Kyrie Irving is out with injury until maybe February or March or somewhere in there with the ACL. So um, my take on it is I think Russell will do fine. I think there's going to be a lot of nights where he's the second leading scorer. I think Cooper will probably average more, end up averaging more, like as like the entire season plays out. But I think there's going to be a lot of nights where Russell's going to be relied upon a lot because he's really, if you look at it, Klay Thompson is not going to be, handling the ball. He's not going to be like creating his own shots. Like he can do that, but that's not his game. Um, so Russell is going to have to run the show, and the defensive part of it. Like I think this is the right team for him to be on because we can cover up for a lot of his defensive problems. And I think offensively, he has really good chemistry with Anthony Davis, and I think this is probably as good of a situation as he's been in since maybe his Brooklyn days because he has three big men, maybe four if you count Cooper Flag, that you can run like the 2-man game with and create really high quality offense.
Yeah, I think the addition of Russell will help fill the void offensively left by Irving. Because he'll make plays, he'll score, he'll have nights where he's on fire. And I do think like they're going to be, I think they're going to be fine offensively. Do you think they're going to be? You think they survive offensively without Kyrie? You think they'll be fine there? Because I think they'll be fine there.
I think they're going to be a top 20 offense. I don't think they're going to be a top 12 offense. I think they're probably going to be mediocre offensively, but I think they'll be passable.
Yeah, when the Mavs made a blockbuster to get Kyrie, the idea was to pair him to get Anthony Davis last year. We won't even talk about the trade. I guess the idea that they were selling us on is we're going to pair him with Kyrie. And the funny thing is, they played one game together, a total of 25 minutes together. Davis got hurt with the adductor injury. And then once Davis returned, Irving was lost for the year with a torn ACL. So they played like 25 minutes together, and then that was it. So like we honestly, and it's a similar thing to San Antonio. We don't really know what the Wembanyama Fox thing is supposed to really look like. We got a small sample size, like 5 or so games, but then Wemby went down with the blood clot. So it's like, I don't know. It's I think there'll be a top 20, top 15-ish offense. And I think they'll probably be, I think you probably expect them to be a top. Where would you expect them to land defensively? Like a top 10 defense?
Yeah, Jason Kidd is quoted as saying they expect this team to be a top 3 defense, but for me, realistically, I think top 7 is probably more realistic because I think with how big we're going to be playing, there's going to be a lot of nights where teams just shoot the hell out of the 3 ball on us because we're just not going to be quick enough or comfortable enough out on the perimeter to where we can close out on these guys.
Okay. Couple questions. First one is a fun one. Over under number of Mavericks games this year, Mavericks home games, where fans chant fire Nico. And I'll set the over under at 40 and a half.
God.
They have 41 home games.
Dude, I mean, I guess I'll take the under if it's 40 and a half, but because it's got to go away at some point, right? I mean,
You would hope so.
I would hope, yeah, like for his sake. I mean,
if the team's playing well, it will go away. That was probably a little bit of a.
Yeah, but if we're mediocre, we're hanging around 500, and the Lakers are the 1 seed or something. Like, there's gonna be, there's gonna be chaos.
If Luka's the leader for MVP, come the All-Star break, and the Mavs are just fighting for their play-in lives or something like that, then you'll probably hear it a lot. I take the under. I'd probably set the line at like maybe half their home games that gets chanted. I don't know. But no, I actually think this Mavericks team will be pretty competitive because I believe in them defensively. Um, and their front court is just going to be an absolute problem, especially when they go to the Cooper Flag, um, Anthony Davis, and then one of Gafford or who's the other big there?
Lively.
Lively. When they go to those lineups, that's a lot of length and size on the in the front court that not a lot of teams are going to be able to match up with.
Yeah, and then even Clay Thompson, he's 6'6", 6'7".
Yep. So that's why I don't worry as much about the perimeter defense from D'Angelo Russell and Clay Thompson, who's slowed down a little bit since his injury, at least in terms of lateral quickness and things of that nature, is because they have such a good front line
Yeah.
on the defensive side of the ball. What is their, just a quick question, what does the depth look like off the bench for the Mavs?
Um. So in terms of depth, it's a little bit questionable in my opinion because we have we traded for Caleb Martin. We traded Quentin Grimes for Caleb Martin. Quentin Grimes, of course, he ended up going to Philly and absolutely killing it. By the way, I don't even think he's on the NBA roster right now, which is silly to me. And then, I mean, outside of that, I mean, there's really not a whole lot coming off the bench for this team. I mean, I can't even count Dwight Powell. To be honest, I mean, yeah, just it's kind of mediocre off bench. I'm kind of blanking on names right now. I don't know why. I'm trying to pull up.
Yeah. In terms of where you see them finishing, though, in the West, where would that be?
Yeah, I think we'll probably be in the 4 to 6 range. I my only goal for this team this season is just stay the hell out of the play-in. The play-in is just a nightmare, especially
Yeah.
when you have older players like Kyrie and Aiden Davis. So having to play an extra game is it's not fun, man. Like there's no situation where you want to do that. But yeah, the off the bench. There's Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Ryan Nemhard, Andrew Nemhard's little brother, of course.
He's
Jaden
looked good
Hardy
in
is a good
preseason.
scorer off the bench. I mean, it's not a whole lot of proven names off the bench. I'll say that. Najee Marshall's really the only proven guy, and he's been a good role player for a long time in the NBA. Max Christie had some really good moments last year, but he's mostly a 3-and-D player. Jaden Hardy's really the only like scoring punch off the bench, I guess. But I expect like one of either Flag, Davis, or Russell to be on the floor at all times.
I agree. I agree. Could we be destined? Could the basketball gods send us to a situation
Oh
where
God.
the Lakers and Mavs match up in a first round playoff series? Can you imagine that?
Oh my God.
Jesus, the series cannot.
It's a real possibility, man. It's a real possibility. I think it could be a 3-6 or like a 4-5 type of situation. That would be blockbuster stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Like I
Anything,
don't even like. I think the Mavs would cheer for Luca. I think like Mavs fans would cheer for Luca. Like a
yeah,
lot of them would.
and I wouldn't blame them at all.
Yeah.
Um, and Luca would probably have monster numbers. We'd probably find a way to have monster numbers. What do you think the feelings are like there? Like Luca wanted to be in Dallas, but he's just. I guess we won't
I
talk
think
about
he just feels slighted, man. Like I think, um, like they ran his name through the mud. Like it's not even just trading him; it's the fact that they aired they aired him out to the media for like a month straight after the fact, and like we're saying all this stuff about how he was out of shape and how he didn't have the work ethic, they didn't believe in him, and all this kind of shit. Like it was just so over the top, and like I was just it just dug daggering deeper and deeper and deeper for Mavs fans too, because it was like why are we removing any hope of Luka ever coming back here? Like why?
Yeah. Yikes. Okay. This game is getting out of hand. Okay. Let's talk anything else on the Mavs or the Spurs before we get into.
Yeah, I think we're good on that. I think,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Um, let's talk some awards and some storylines then. Like,
Yeah, this will probably be like a 45, 50-minute podcast, probably.
yep.
Yeah, let's just go like 10 minutes here. Um, I think MVP first. Um, I'll start off. Obviously, Jokic is someone that I think could be in that race for sure. Anthony Edwards is a name I've heard tossed around also. He's someone that has been, on social media showing off his work he's been doing in the post, trying to like make his game more resilient for those like playoff type of situations. Because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, a lot of his scoring came from the 3-point line and just in the paint, and there was nothing in between last year. He kind of ran into that same issue that Tatum did a couple years ago, where he was just in the playoffs. He didn't have like a lot of moves in his arsenal just to go to in the mid range, whereas Shea, like that was his bread and butter, and it was just like a pretty telling difference there in terms of that. So I think Anthony Edwards for sure, he could put up pretty big numbers, and if they exceed expectations, which I think they might, with a few of the young guys that they're going to be playing more this year, Terrence Shannon and Rod Dillingham, I think he could win MVP. I think he would probably be um, top two in my kind of MVP picks. And then three, I'd probably put Luca.
Yeah, I have Jokic up there. Um, look, somewhere in the multiverse, Jokic is vying for a sixth straight MVP award. Um, perhaps simultaneously while just doing everything for that you can do in the game of basketball. He's won 3 of the last 5, and in the 2 years he didn't win, he placed second in voting. In the 2 years he didn't win were last year, Gilgeous-Alexander, who deserved it, by the way,
Yeah.
and then 2023 with a historic run from Joel Embiid. I just think Jokic's play never falters. If his team is good and if they can keep pace with Oklahoma City in the standings and they're like top 3 in the West, the numbers he's going to put up could be historic again. I'd have him up there, and I'd also have Luka up there. You just have to feel like Luka's going to win an MVP at some point. Especially with the new body that he has and the shape that he's in, right? And I think this season perhaps offers him the best mix of motivation and narrative that's surrounding him. His first full year on the Lakers in a new destination after the trade and all that stuff. From what I've seen, he looks leaner than he's ever been. He looks locked in. And I think LeBron James's prolonged absence, however long that's going to be to start the year, could help to clear up any confusion about like who's going to drive, that
Who's
team,
going to drive the ship? Yeah.
who's going to drive the ship, and like the monstrous numbers he might end up putting up. I don't think he's going to start. The thing with Luka is it's like he started pretty slow in past years because he hasn't been in shape, or at least that's played part of it. I
Yeah.
think this year he's in shape. Like he looks different physically than he's ever been. Racking up wins will be tough though. But like, if you were to tell me that Luka averages 34 and a near triple double, and they finish top 4 in the West, like, if he can stay healthy, of course, is the main question there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we've yet to see a Luka led team be a top 3 seed.
Yeah,
So if he does that, that's the only missing piece for him in terms of the MVP.
yeah. Those would be my top two, and then you have, of course, Shea. You have maybe Wimby enters the conversation as we mentioned earlier, and then Anthony Edwards, of course, is depending on how good the Timberwolves are.
Is
He
there
could
anyone out east that you would throw their name in the hat? I mean,
um,
I would throw Cade Cunningham's name in the hat.
potentially, yep.
If he, I think he could put up really big numbers, and that team could be somewhere in the top 4 in the East picture for sure.
Could Brunson be in the conversation?
Definitely. I mean, that's the next name I was going to throw out there, Brunson.
Yeah,
I hesitate a little bit on Donovan Mitchell because I don't think they would give it to him given his history in the playoffs. Like I think he has to prove it in the playoffs first before he wins a huge award like that. For me personally, but I mean, if he has another dominant season and they win 60 plus games, he could be right there in the mix as well. Um, I guess the only other player that I would throw out as like a really like long shot dark horse, and you might think I'm crazy on this one. Just I guess um, I guess just give me your opinion once I say it. But it's Trey Young. I think Atlanta. They're a very polarizing team. There's a chance that they're mid again and they're like in the play in, but there's also a chance that everything clicks.
they're
Jalen
one of
Johnson
the,
is the
there's
perfect
one,
co-star, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden they're a top 2 seed in the East.
yeah, they're one of those regular season teams that maybe isn't built for playoff success, but wins a lot of games,
Yeah,
and he puts up
and
monster
if
numbers.
that happens, Trey Young putting up huge numbers, yeah, I could see it.
I mean, it's not the most craziest thing that's ever been said at all. I think that could be I don't think it's likely, but
Yeah,
possible. Sure. Um, it's just there's so many other good players. I
yeah.
don't know if he's going to break that.
Yeah, I don't know. Given his reputation, I don't know. Like he wasn't even on Team USA, so
Yeah,
it's hard to it's hard to see it. Like he didn't even make the All Star game last year. So with his reputation, it's hard to see him jumping all that and winning an MVP. So yeah, that's a pretty long shot. Um, okay, moving on to defensive player of the year. We can hit this one pretty fast because this is pretty obvious. If the player we think stays healthy,
yeah.
it's Wembanyama, man. Like I think there's a chance he wins like 5 of these in a row if he
There's a
if
chance.
he has the health.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, if he's if the basketball gods offer good fortune and good health, the league might want to come up with a miniature second place defensive player of the award trophy, just so others can feel inclusion in the race. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant there, but Wimby led the league. I'll continue to reiterate. He led the league in blocks his first 2 seasons. And last year, he played in a little over half the games. And it was a runaway. So I just think his impact defensively on the Spurs, what the hell is that? That's the 40-year-old Joe Flacco I know.
What's the
uh,
score?
it's 17-10. Like, this is not going well for my Steelers. They've turned the ball over twice. They're playing sloppy football. They look like a Mike Tomlin team on a short week. But like they just look asleep and they're not the more physical team tonight. And a lot of times in the AFC North, that's what it comes down to. They're about to be down 20-10 if McPherson makes this kick. The Bengals are running the ball over. This isn't a football podcast. I mean, it is, but we're not talking
Yeah,
football.
it's not an episode of football, but yeah,
Um,
no, we get it. It's all good.
but no, I think Wimby, like, if he's healthy, he's going to have the defensive counting stats, the steals and the blocks. And I think his impact on the Spurs defensively is just going to be so massive that he'll probably run away with the award, at least this year, especially if the Spurs are like relevant and like in the playoffs and things of that nature. We don't need to spend much more time on that. If it wasn't Wimby, who would it be?
Um, I could see Anthony Davis winning it if he stays healthy, but that's a long shot also because he has to stay healthy. Um, uh, I mean, I guess maybe like Chet Holmgren. I could see that.
Yeah.
I don't know. To be honest, it's been a
Amen.
while since we've seen like a dominant defensive player like Wembenyama has kind of like made it return to that. But a couple of years before that, it was like Marcus Smart winning Defensive Player of the Year just because like there was literally nobody else, and then like you would have years like that where it's like who do we choose? Like
Could Amon Thompson compete for it?
oh for sure. Oh I
Yeah,
forgot about him.
he
Yeah
would be like the guard that I would throw out there.
yeah.
Um, maybe I don't know. Does like Lou Dort or I'm just trying to throw out some names. Yeah, he's on Chet Holmgren's team. Chet Holmgren would be the most likely player on that team to win the award. But yeah, I think it's Wimby as long as he's healthy. You mentioned he might win 5. If I set the over under on defensive player of the years in Wimby's career at 4.5, would you go over or under?
Oh God.
Keep in mind he's 21 years old.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say over. I mean, I don't like. Has there ever been someone who's won 5? I don't know. Like,
I'm not sure, but I'll look that up.
okay, yeah.
What else do you want to discuss?
Um,
We have like 5 or 10 more minutes at the most.
yeah. Let's skip over Coach of the Year. Maybe yeah, skip over Rookie of the Year too because we've talked about that a little bit. Um, let's talk about some like superlatives for teams. Like, who do you think will be like the most improved team in the NBA that come this season?
Hmm. Most improved team this year.
I think there's a chance um, Orlando does it. Um,
Yes.
they were right around 500 last year, and I think there's a strong possibility they win 50 games this year. I could even see Jamal Mosley winning Coach of the Year in the right scenario.
There
Uh,
is a there's a possibility that happens. There's also a possibility that the Spurs could do that, and just in terms of like win differential, they won
yeah,
34 last year. If they win like say 49 this year, in the rare case that they like reach that ceiling, then that would be like a plus 15 win increase, which would be pretty impressive. In terms of the standings last year, though, I'm trying to think of like who didn't win a lot of games that could win a lot of games this year. What other teams would be in that conversation? I'm trying to think back to the standings from last year.
um, well, um,
I think Orlando's a great one because I think their thing is just they're going to have to stay healthy, but they get Desmond Bain, who I think is going to help their offense. It's just he's now in a group of players, fittingly, kind of that, like the past 3 years, I think Desmond Bain has missed at least 25 games in every single year, and they already have some injury-prone players on that team. But from a like offensive perspective and a perimeter shooting shot creation standpoint, he will definitely help them. Um, I could see that for sure. Any other teams you would throw into that mix? I'm trying to think.
I
Uh,
mean, you could make an argument for
could
Portland.
Atlanta?
Portland, maybe. I mean, that's a tough one because I mean, they were above 500 over their last like the last like 30 games of the year. They were above 500, and they kind of made a run um, late at like at a playing spot. They were pretty getting pretty close at the end there, but maybe Portland. I don't know though, because the West is just so fucking tough. Um,
What about Atlanta?
yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
Atlanta could do it. Yeah. Um, here's a team that I wouldn't bet on, but I think could be better. Charlotte, maybe. Um,
Possibly.
like I think Con Knipple is like legit. Like I think he has a shot at rookie of the year too. Like I wouldn't rule him out. Um, and then I mean Brandon Miller heading into year 3, LaMelo Ball entering who knows what year, but I mean, could he stay healthy? Who knows? I don't know. I mean, they could be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, let's hit on one more topic here. What? Anything else you want to hit on?
Um,
Maybe just like your finals pick. Who would that be right now?
oh, fuck. Finals pick. I'd probably go Thunder versus. Eh, eh.
I'd go Thunder against.
It's tough. It's tough.
Look at the East.
I mean, I don't know if I can believe in New York right now.
Yeah.
Um, fuck, dude. I mean, I don't believe in Cleveland that much,
Yeah.
but it almost feels like you have to include Cleveland just by default because, like, I mean, who else is there? You know,
I mean, could Milwaukee get there? You think?
I
What do
don't,
you?
I don't, I don't know if they have enough on defense, man. Like, I think offensively they could be pretty interesting. Like, I think Kevin Porter Jr. he can fill it up. Um, Miles Turner is going to be pretty good in the pick and pop game with Giannis, but like defensively though, it's going to be pretty rough. Like what they're putting on the floor out there most nights. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the East is pretty rough, man. I think I could see one of those teams making a trade out east that kind of shakes shit up. Like I've heard a rumor of like Laurie Markin into Detroit. That could be pretty interesting.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
If they do that, that would be fun. That would get fun.
You think Oklahoma City goes back to back? Like, if you had to put your money on either them going back to back or the field, the rest of the NBA, who would you take?
um, mm, I think I would take the field just because it's so hard to go back to back.
Yeah.
But it's tough though because we've never seen a team this young win a championship. So it kind of feels like they're an outlier because we've seen so many teams like they win a championship next year. Like it's just a lot of basketball to play, man. Like they come back and their bodies just break down. They just get injured. But this team is so young and they're so deep that like they could withstand that. I
Yeah.
don't. Gosh, man. It's hard not to pick them. It's hard not to pick them. I honestly.
I'd pick them to win it. As of right now, I'd probably put my money on them, but at the same time, acknowledging it's very hard to win back to back. Like the last team that did it was Golden State, but they're like so young and so good defensively. They're just and like J Dub might take another step. Like if he does that, and you have Chet Holmgren healthy, that team's going to be scary good.
It's going to be ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm excited for the NBA, particularly because the Spurs, I think, are now entering. I think the official, like what should be their official honeymoon rise back to the top of, towards the top of the league. Like this year, I think will be the year where they I'm hoping will be the year where they get to the playoffs and get a taste of the playoffs and see what that has to offer. Yes, Fryermuth just scored a touchdown. They needed that badly. Holy shit, they needed that. Please don't tell me there's a flag. Okay, good. I'm excited because I think this is the start of like the honeymoon phase. Every team has kind of gone through this where they kind of like have a couple years where they, jump back on the scene, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Mavericks
yeah,
had it with Luca. It was a couple great years for sure.
I think this is the start of that. I don't expect them to like win a playoff series or anything like that this year. I think if you're expecting that, you're just kind of unrealistic. But like you never know, man. With we, the crazy part about this is we don't know how good Wimby could actually end up like getting to be. Like, what is his actual ceiling? Does he have a ceiling? Is he going to grow a couple more inches? Because apparently he already did this offseason. I just, yeah, that's my kind of parting shots on the Spurs. I'm excited because I think this is the start of their honeymoon phase where they get back into like real competitive NBA basketball. They're in the playoffs again for the first time in a while, and they take off. Like after this year's the year where you would expect them to probably take off into another stratosphere. But this year, I think, is the start of that honeymoon where it's a young team, a young core. You now have most of the pieces you're probably going to need, not to compete for a championship necessarily, although you do have the centerpiece of that. But you have a roster, especially with the addition of Luke Cornett, which is something we didn't talk about. But I like the way that he's looked so far in preseason. The Spurs have needed like another playable big, and he's going to be awesome in that role. They have the pieces. There's no excuses outside of injuries to not be back in the playoffs, in my opinion. That's my like parting words on the Spurs. What would be your parting words on the Mavs?
I think the Mavs, like for please, for the love of God, please stay out of the fucking play in, and also like um I can't even like I can't decide whether playing the Lakers in the first round series would be a good thing or a bad thing because I'm honestly kind of rooting for it because like that would be must see TV and it would just be absolute chaos, but also like it would be hard to watch, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really enjoyed this. I've been a little distracted tonight, but I think we had some good conversation overall. I think we probably expect both of our teams to be back in the playoffs
Yeah.
this year. Um, Maybe the Mavs in an actual playoff seed and the Spurs having to win a game to get into the playoffs. But either way, I think both will be there. I guess that would mean probably there's a situation where almost half the West is Texas, Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas. Could all three of those teams be in the playoffs?
Yeah, it's a possibility for sure.
And then you probably have three from Texas, maybe two from LA, Denver, Oklahoma City. So it's like, wow, Minnesota.
Denver, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
All right. Well, I'm excited for the NBA. Maybe we'll. I don't know like what our shtick that we have going here is with like bonus content, but maybe later on in the season we'll throw another NBA bonus episode
Yeah,
out
maybe
there.
around All Star break, I
Yeah,
can, yeah,
somewhere around there, or maybe closer to playoff time. We'll see. We're a football channel now, but it's fun every year to get together and talk a little bit of basketball.
yeah. Just to throw it in, just sprinkle it in here and there.
Yep. All right, take us out, Emmy.
Yeah, that's gonna do it. It'll be a while before we talk NBA again, but we will still be talking college hoops. So if you're into that, Go check out Deep in the Heart of Longhorn Sports. We're doing our preview content for that right now. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be recording that episode most likely on Sunday. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, until then, peace out.
Peace. See y'all next week.